Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're here taping at the Hollywood Museum in the historic Max Factor building, and we welcome you to come and see all the exhibits here. Choreographer, performer, director, producer, and master instructor, Jillina Carlano was born and raised in Los Angeles. She graduated from Monroe High School and she went to LA Community College. Her approach to the art of dance is revolutionary. You have a different name for that. What do you call your presentations?
Well, the show, my current production is called Belly Dance Evolution, and we're a touring dance company, and we do a theatrical dance show.
And how do you make these presentations? Why do you call your approach so different?
Well, what I've taken is I've taken an ancient art form, Middle Eastern dance, and I've added Western elements. I've also added break dancers into the show, at the same time keeping some of the traditions and classic styles of Egyptian classical dance and Middle Eastern art form.
Where did you learn those dances?
Well, I've been a dancer most of my life, and I did jazz and ballet and all of the Western art forms. And then I discovered belly dance, and I totally fell in love with it. And I went to Egypt, and I've been traveling to Egypt for the last 17 years annually, and
is that right?
Study the culture, the music, the language, and it's.
Well, that's what I wondered, how you became such an authority, because you not only do the dance, but you incorporate a storyline of some
Yeah, so
sort.
much like a ballet, like you go to the ballet and you see Romeo and Juliet, or, like with the storyline.
With the storyline.
So we don't have dialogue in the show, and we have, of course, we have a program with the scenes listed, but when you watch the show, you can follow the story. And in the past, our other productions have been original stories. And this time,
you did? Who wrote the stories?
Brad McDonald. He's a writer from New York, and we really collaborated well, and I loved what he did. But this time, I wanted to do a traditional story, so we're doing Alice in Wonderland.
I know you're doing that. I want to talk about a little bit of what Brad wrote. What kind of stories did he write?
Well, our first production it was called Immortal Desires, and it was a love story, and it was, because I travel all over the world. I mean, Australia, China, Mexico, Argentina, all
with
over.
Your group?
With my group.
Right.
So I wanted this story to translate in all languages and all cultures. Right. And love is of all cultures.
So it was a love story.
It was a love story. And
were they all love stories before?
The second one was called Dark Side of the Crown, and it was the story about a queen who has 3 daughters, and the 3 daughters were one of the daughters was going to be chosen to be queen, and during the big ceremony, someone kills the queen. So it's like a murder mystery. So it was a completely different approach to it, and had some dramatic moments. It also had some comical moments.
But no dialogue.
No dialogue, no speaking.
And how many people are on the stage?
The production, we usually have between 25 to 30 artists on the stage. So it's a big production.
And when you talk about writing an original thing or going back to something that's traditional, like you're doing with Alice in Wonderland, what comes first with yours, the choreography or the story?
Usually the story comes first. The story comes first, and I have a vision for what I want to do, and specifically with Alice, it's already a story, and people know it.
It is a story,
so
right.
I had to be very clear about staying in chronological order of the story. So when, coming down a rabbit hole and Pool of Tears and each scene. And then I'm so lucky I have my husband, who's a composer, so he does an original score for the show. So it becomes, first is the story, then it becomes the music, and then then that turns into choreography.
And then where do your dancers come from?
They come from all over the world. We have like a core of dancers that most of them are.
That's what I wondered. And then, do they come to your dance studio?
Yes.
They work at your dance. Tell us a little bit about your dance studio.
So I own Evolution Dance Studios in North Hollywood, and we're right on Lancashire, like 2 minutes from Universal Studios. So we're right in the heart of
do you
North
work
Hollywood.
at the studios at all?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes we do some of the casting up there, but
so then you cast your dancers? You have to cast your dancers.
So we have
too?
our main cast, and then what we do is with our chorus dancers, what we do is a casting, and we do an international casting competition, and it's done on the internet, so it's done online. So it really has opened up a huge door to great.
I mean,
great
they send
talent.
you a link of what they can do?
Yeah, so there's an audition piece that they have to perform.
Yeah.
So they have to actually like audition. I'm sure you did lots of auditions. So they have their script or their choreography. They perform my choreography. Then they have the opportunity to show me what they do, and they do their own choreography.
Do they send you a tape or a link? How do you get it?
So I have a website, and everybody posts their audition videos up on the website.
Oh, they do.
And that way, the whole world can see their videos and see who's casting, and they can follow along with it. And then we have a deadline, and then we announce who we've chosen for that. And it's
and
like
sometimes you've never even met them. You've just seen them online. Oh, that's fantastic.
And you know, using like the technology that we have now to sort of reach out and having that work within the arts, I think is is revolutionary. I mean, we have Facebook and Twitter and all these things and YouTube and all these tools, but it's been, for me personally, over the last 5 years with Belly Dance Evolution and this international casting, it's a great way to do dance exchange, cultural exchange.
It's fantastic.
And to find some hot talent, I tell you.
It's fantastic. And then you have to, if you find somebody in the Middle East and you bring them here?
Sure, if they pass the audition.
And how many people are actually at the casting?
So I think our biggest casting, we had over 100 dancers sign up. And we had, it was difficult to choose because there was such good dancers. So we've had quite a few of the big competitions.
And then how much time do you need before you get them all together?
Well,
and once you get them all
we do
together?
like a pre-rehearsal. So we do some videos via like Skype and via videos and YouTube and things like that. So we have what we call the pre-rehearsals, and then we have the 10 days prior to the show. So that's what we're doing now in rehearsals.
So you're in rehearsals now
8 to 9 hours every day.
And where do you rehearse?
We rehearse at Evolution Dance Studios.
In your dance studio?
Yes, yeah.
I see.
And it's great. And then we're pretty close to the Ford. And then we'll do several tech rehearsals over at the Ford. And
okay, we talked about the music. Tell me the composer's name.
Paul Dinlatier, and he does music for film and television. And his main thing, his company is called Audio Machine, and they write music for movie trailers. So his music is very, very dramatic and theatrical, which works well for a theatrical
Does he play? Is he on stage?
No, he's totally behind the scenes. And that works great for our marriage because I'm all about in front of the lights, and he likes to be behind the lights.
I see. So he doesn't play an instrument. He's not on stage because
his traditional instrument is the piano, but he doesn't perform.
Does he compose on the piano?
Yes, all his compositions start on the piano.
Because with Alice in Wonderland, you have musicians on stage.
Yes, we do have live percussionists.
But it's not him.
It's not him. No, it's funny because he's very shy to be on stage. But the live percussionist is amazing because we have what we call, the drum is called the tabla, and it's a traditional Egyptian instrument. So we have Ozzy will be featured as our featured musician, and he'll be cast with Marcos and Donovan, other musicians that will accompany him. And it makes it kind of unique because we have this huge score, and then we also have this live element that's interactive.
So the composer makes a big score.
Yes.
And then you have this interactive. I see. Oh, that's very good. And how many countries are represented, did you say?
Oh my God. In this show, I think we have at least 14 different countries represented, and we've traveled to over 30 countries.
You do an instructional DVD. What is that about?
I have 9 instructional DVDs out in the market, and I've been producing them over the last, probably the last 15 years. Some of them have been translated into other languages.
What do they do? What do they teach?
Spanish, German, English, Italian, of course English. But what we do is I teach them belly dance. I teach them anything from the basics up to professional level belly dance. So we do technique, combinations, choreography, and that's that's part of the other thing I do is I travel around the world and I teach master classes.
Yes, I was gonna say, I know you teach a master class. Where have you taught that class?
I just got home yesterday, so I'm a little bit jet lagged. I was in Sweden for a week, and before that, next week.
And how do they know you're coming to teach this class?
Well,
do you teach it with someone? Oh,
no, they invite me. So I have basically like dancers or artists or schools from around the world who invite me to come and teach.
Schools?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Or a dance studio? Or
dance studio, schools, artists that create like big events like dance events or dance festivals. And I'm usually one of the guest or master instructors.
But do you still dance?
Yes, I do.
You do?
I still do dance. So right now I'm the woman of many hats. I produce the show, I finance the show, I do the main choreography. I collaborate with choreographers from my team.
You talk about that. What kind of an audience do you have? Like, who will come to the Ford to see this?
I think the thing that will surprise you the most about our audience, our demographic is women between 18 to 35. That's about
young?
75%. Yes.
That's very young.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the main demographic. If you look at our Facebook page, like our 50,000 fans plus. But of course, we have women up into their 80s. We have young teenagers that come.
This is not in the dance. This is at the Ford. This is your audience.
This is at the Ford. This is our demographics, so like the research we've done on our company.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. And most people think, oh, it's belly dancing and it's very erotic, and most of your fans will be men. And of course, we have male fans.
Yes.
But they're mostly coming with their wives who are belly dancers who have dragged them along to the show. And of course, they love it when they see it.
Before we leave, I wanted to ask you this. You said you went to Egypt a lot, and you were invited to this very special festival that they have that you dance in, I think many times, right?
Yes.
Tell us what that is. What's it called?
It's called Ahlan wa Sahlan, and Ahlan wa Sahlan means welcome. It's an Arabic word. And it was a great honor for me because at that time they had only had Middle Eastern or Egyptian women dancing in the festival. So I was the first American dancer to perform at that event for that special evening because they have like the Egyptian night. So it was a huge honor for me because I'm a Western woman, and of course my heart and soul is in this dance, and I've been following and going to Egypt for all these years.
Do you have any Arabic background?
I don't actually.
Do you speak Arabic?
I do speak some Arabic. Yeah.
You understand a little?
Yeah, I do speak some, and I understand some. I study the music and all the lyrics to the songs, and understanding. It's like a woman who wants to be a flamenco dancer. It's more beneficial for her to speak Spanish and understand the culture.
Right.
So that's what I've tried to do, is have a better understanding of the culture, the religion, the music, the rhythms, and the
When you
people.
go to Egypt, you just stay in Cairo?
I've traveled throughout Egypt, like Alexandria and the Sinai, and of course like all the pyramids and all the sightseeing. But these days I mostly do like my research, and I go and take classes and check with the musicians.
Well, I'm so glad you came to tell us all about this, Jillina.
Thank you very much.
It's really great, and good luck.
Thank you very much, and I'd love to see you try a class someday.
Oh, okay.
I think you'd enjoy it. You'd be delightfully surprised.
It looks very difficult.
You can say that, but you don't know until you try.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. Don't go away. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping at the Hollywood Museum in the historic Max Factor building, and we're here on Highland Avenue. Vicki Lewis, who was born and raised in Cincinnati, where she graduated from Anderson High School, has been on so many TV shows as a guest star, or in a number of series, or in recurring roles. And one of the recurring roles is Dr. Sonia, and How I Met Your Mom, How I Met Your Mother.
How Your Mom.
I love it.
How I Met Your
Mom.
Actually, has a nice little ring.
You like
to
that?
it,
How I Met Your Mother. And she only stars in films, not only films, but she's a voiceover specialist. So you've seen her on all these animated things. You've heard this blockbuster voice in these huge pictures. What is that voice?
That's funny. No one's ever put it to me quite like that. It's not just one voice. So, for example, in Finding Nemo, I play Deb and Flo, which is the fish that sees a reflection and thinks that it's her sister, but she's a little wonky donkey. So it's, you know, hi, how are ya? But then I have a little kid that I do on Betsy's Kindergarten Adventures, and so she's very excited, and she talks up here like this a lot. And so, like, there's lots of different voices that I do, and it's just kind of, my husband likes to say it's all the crazy voices that live in my head, and finally somebody pays me to do it.
How do they know that you can do all those voices?
You know, it's funny. I was doing news radio, and they brought me in. I know, this is how it all started.
I was doing news radio,
I
serious.
Yeah, I'm trying to, like, drop it up. But it was 1990 whatever, and they brought me in to read for Pixar's A Bug's Life.
Oh, that was so cute.
Wasn't that cute? And Dave Foley, who was also in news radio with me, booked that job, but I didn't. And then Pixar, they liked my voice, and so they held on to it until they found an animated show that they thought it fit the character for, which was Finding Nemo.
Oh, which was great, too, because
Yes.
Pixar can hold on to those things, can't
Yeah,
they? They're
apparently.
such a big company.
Yes, they're a wonderful company.
Did you love working with them?
I loved it. It was magical, and what they do is magical.
So we've talked about this. I've talked about all these well, I didn't talk about all your Broadway roles, but I talked about all your TV work and this voiceover stuff. But you were in Chicago and Damn Yankees on Broadway.
Yeah.
And how did you get from there to news radio? What are we talking about here?
You know, most people who know me from television don't know that I started in the theater. So I actually started on Broadway.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
How did you get a gig on Broadway? Where did you come from?
Oh, well, Ohio.
Right from Ohio to Broadway?
Yes, I had $20 in my pocket, no kidding. Well, I went to 1 year of college,
Oh,
and then
you
I got
did?
my equity card.
How?
I auditioned, I drove my little car to Pittsburgh Civic Light Opera, and I auditioned, and I got my equity card.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
I was
doing what? Singing?
I was in the chorus, but then one of the things I got to do was I would carry the train of Dixie Carter's dress. She was doing Mame, and she had this little cup, and sometimes she'd have to spit up into it before she would sing like that. And I would go. It made me so happy to do that. Isn't that weird? So yeah, and then I got my equity card, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I don't need to be in school anymore, and so I went to New York. Yeah, I just left.
And you got right into dance.
Here's how no, the first Broadway show I did was Do Black Patent Leather Shoes Really Reflect Up?
Oh.
And I got that by lying because I didn't have an agent. So they were auditioning for it, and my friend Mitch Lemsky called me, and he said, they're auditioning for the show, you're really right. I said, I don't have an agent. So I went over to NOLA Studios where they were auditioning. I waited for 4 hours until they called a girl's name, and she didn't answer, and I said, that's me.
Oh my gosh, I love you. You're so great.
Isn't that wild? And then I got that job. So it was like, and then I thought, if only it had stayed that easy, right? You never know what's ahead of you.
Well, if it's that easy,
right?
I can do anything,
Exactly.
right?
And then I did Wind in the Willows on Broadway with Nathan Lane, which was a glorified flaw. I mean, the review in the New York Times started with, how dare they flaw a shared memory.
But it doesn't matter, does it? There you were with
Just
a
as hard to
major
get into
star.
those. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, and then it just kept going. And I was actually doing Damn Yankees on Broadway. When I auditioned for I'll Do Anything, which is a Jim Brooks movie, and it was a movie musical. Oh. And I got that, and that brought me to L.A.
So you were singing on Broadway, dancing on Broadway. Had you been singing and dancing classes? You had been.
Yeah, a little bit.
So,
not so much, though. It was mainly like I learned pretty much on the job.
But it was so lucky.
Very lucky.
But the other thing is I haven't mentioned, but I'm going to mention, you sang at Carnegie Hall.
I did, and with Skitch Henderson.
I mean, how great.
Yeah, I mean.
What was that about? And in Las Vegas and many other theaters in Los Angeles. So you've sung a lot.
I do. I sing whenever I can. I will sing at the opening of an envelope. But yes, I have sung a lot, and it's my greatest joy is to sing. Yeah, Carnegie Hall is more fun to do probably than it is to watch, because to stand on stage at Carnegie Hall and look out at that glorious theater is quite memorable. Yeah, it's cool.
So tell me about East of Midnight.
Okay. Well, no one asks about that. Okay.
Is it a no-no?
No, of course not. But
because
here's
it's important.
No one
isn't
pays
it?
attention. It's important to me. We were doing news radio. I keep saying that. You won't have to ask about that. They'll be like, we know you were on news radio.
No, where was news radio?
News radio was NBC series. And it was myself and Phil Hartman, rest his soul,
Oh, right.
Andy Dick, Maura Tierney, Stephen
got
Root.
it.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
Anyway, Phil Hartman had been killed by his wife. It was very tragic. And we went on a hiatus, and we thought the show was over. And I became very upset. We were very close. And I had always read these literary martyrs like Dorothy Parker and Virginia Woolf and Salinger and, you know, Sylvia Plath, and I just sort of identified with these. I know, broken heart like Zelda Fitzgerald and F. Scott and all these people. I was fascinated, and during that time of kind of grief, my therapy was I suddenly sat down and wrote 16 songs, and that's East of Midnight.
Oh, that was
It was
East
a
of
therapeutic.
Midnight.
I wrote the songs, I produced it myself, and it was like that's what it was. It's very personal to me. I didn't write it or produce it. It's funny, I held on to it for years because it was just a thing I did for me, and my husband said, you need to share that with the world.
Is it public now?
Yeah, it's on iTunes. It's not for every, you know, it's because it's a bit moody,
Is
to
it
say the least.
depressing?
I would say so, yes. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, it's
well,
very...
it was from your depressing
yes,
period.
you know, there's some quirky stuff in it, but it's really... Yeah.
Did you
personal.
write the music? So all the melodies are yours,
all the lyrics,
everything's
everything's
yours?
mine. I did it in a locked room for 6 months. I just sort of needed to work the stuff out.
What kind of one thing?
What kind of song? Like, you know, there's a song called, it's a little Joni Mitchell meets, I used all acoustic instruments, but I mean big time. Like, there's orchestras on some of it, there's choruses on some of it.
You did it all?
Yeah, I produced it with my friend Tom Bishop. There's a song called Tender Andy, which is sort of an ode to Andy Dick because he was in such peril at the time. There's a song called Sleepwalking, which is how I felt. You know, it's like that. There's a song called Dorothy Parker and Me, because I felt alone in there with this. But, you know, it's, so yeah. But it gets better. It gets better. No, I mean, so yeah, it's a
So you're a
record.
Pisces.
I am, are you?
Yes.
It's like too much sometimes, like you're so sensitive,
That's why
right?
I can understand how you could like lock yourself in a room and do that.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody can understand.
And I don't want to see anybody.
No.
That's the big point.
That's how I recharge.
So that I'm going to ask you about another life-changing
go ahead.
situation, but that was a life-changing situation, obviously, right?
Yes, it
And were
was.
there any others that experiences that you had while you're coming out of that? Coming out of that into something else?
No, it was huge. You know, it turns out a lot of what I wrote on the record at that time, because I hadn't truly gone through it all the way yet, was sort of foreshadowing in a way because, you know, I lived with Nick Nolte for 10 years. And I met him on that film, I'll Do Anything.
Oh, that was the film that brought you out? And so it brought you out and it moved you into with a major movie star.
Yeah, we fell in love on that set. And he was sober when I met him. And towards the end of that relationship, as you know,
But 10 years, you mean? It got
dark at the end, to say the least. You saw the mugshot.
So that's a change. That's a really life-changing experience.
That was very much so. And, you know, he's a good man. He has a good soul. He's broken like a lot of us. But it took a lot for me to sort of galvanize myself once I left that, you know? Because that's a whole other little world. Like, you girl from Ohio, and then you're doing a Broadway show, and then suddenly you're, like, on a compound, and then you take your laundry over there for someone to do. And so, you know, I moved out, and I was like, how much does the stamp cost? Do you know what I mean?
Because everything was taken care of for you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
not bad.
Not bad, but I'll tell you, having had both, I feel more alive. I'm in touch when I'm doing that stuff on a regular, you know.
You
I
need
need
to touch,
see people.
right.
I need, you know, no man is an island. And we were in Malibu, and that can be an island.
Oh,
at
I
times,
see.
So, yeah.
Were you still working, though? You were still working?
Mm-hmm. I worked a lot. I did.
So which do you prefer, Broadway? I think you would love Broadway, wouldn't you?
Yeah. You know, when
would you go back and do something?
Oh, yeah. Of course I would. You know, I went back to do Chicago. I did it twice on Broadway.
And who was in it when you were doing it?
I did it with Charlotte Dembois.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
She's
I
amazing.
know. I saw that.
She's so amazing and so funny and so down to earth. And then I did it with Nana Visitor from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, I don't know.
Her?
No, I don't.
She's like an incredible ballerina. So yeah, I had kind of two different experiences. And then we did it in Las Vegas.
Oh, and that's where you were singing in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember those roles? You played the same role in all of them?
Yeah, I played Velma.
You played Velma.
Uh-huh, the B.B. Newirth, yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, now you're in a hot new play.
This play
called Meet and Greet.
Yeah. This play has a life of its own. You know, it's so funny because Stan Zimmerman, who wrote it with Christian, you know, he's been after me for a while to do this, and it took us we just kept missing each other. And then I was like, okay, let's do this little reading of this play, and that was like 3 years ago or something. Like it just
was it that long ago? Was it pretty long ago?
Maybe it was. I tend to exaggerate, but I think it was a while. It was like maybe a year or two.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he got this incarnation, and he's like, let's rehearse. We got this place at the Fringe Festival.
I know, that was so great, and it won the Fringe Festival.
Yeah, and then we won, and so now it's going to go on.
So it's the same play that was in the Fringe Festival with the same cast.
Yep.
And Stan Zimmerman, who wrote it, did he direct it? Who's directing it? And he directed it.
Yeah.
Because he won with you guys, you get to be the #1 play on Theater Row.
It's kind of exciting. I know. It's who knew? Like we're this little engine that's.
So maybe this goes back to Broadway.
Listen, this belongs in New York. It's funny.
It is because it has a real New York mentality, doesn't it?
Yeah. And everybody can identify. It's people just, you know, failing in life, and there's such humor in that, you know, and
But you are so funny, and you're like the comedian.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Tell us about your role.
Well, this is a woman who should be on a 5150 psych hold. I mean, this woman has 2 personalities, you know.
She's so mean.
Untethered. Yes. Yeah. She's, you know, she's completely lost and just off her rocker. But so is everybody else in their own way. But
in their own way,
on the outside. She's like,
but you're all over the stage,
crawling,
and your
you're
clothes are falling off of you.
Stan always says to me, "I have you crawling," and I feel so bad, and I'm like, I enjoy it. I don't know.
You enjoy it.
I have such fun in that role, you know. And it's cathartic to sort of, you know, all the crazy. And then you find that they're just these 4 insecure women who, you know, just want to work. And isn't that what any of us really want at the end of the day?
It really is. It does have a message.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see the characters unfold and work against each other.
Yeah. And I'm a little jaded, so I was like, oh, this is cute. You know, everybody's laughing really hard because we're at Fringe. And so then we did the shows after Fringe, and I had, like, my in-laws there. And, you know, it's a little racy, to say the least, the language. And they were dying laughing. Like, everyone who comes to see it seems to be able to relate, and so that kind of is fabulous.
Well, I think that's what you need in the theater. You need to get a lesson. You need to see something really deep. It's very deep.
Yeah, it is.
Very deep, but it's very funny.
Yeah.
And also the choreography with the people moving back and forth and everything going on the stage, which is great.
Yeah, and now we're getting a real set, which will be nice.
You're getting a real set? Oh, I have to come see it with a real set.
Please come back.
Because the Hollywood Fringe, you have 15 minutes to get on and off.
You do. You can't even, like, I would drive there and put my makeup on in the car.
That's right.
Like, because it would take me so much to get into the...
Well, and you couldn't, and you wore a wig, you wore this funny hippie
I
wig.
Know.
Oh.
Your face.
I don't know how that took any time to do. It was really horrible, wasn't it?
That was the idea.
You did it.
Yeah, I did it. But yeah, I mean, I would, and then you have to rush in. That theater, you know, that show ends, and then they're like, quiet, you know, and then you wait, and then you run in, and then your show.
Well, we're glad you came and
Thank
ran
you.
into us.
I'm so glad to finally be with you.
Vicki, thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks for watching. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa and email me at JAQUINN1.